This is a special presentation for NightRide FM.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dennis, and I am here with two very fine artists. They are known as WeAreMagonia. How'd I do?
That's fine.
I'm working on it. You guys are from France, right?
Exactly.
Right.
All right, so I think a lot of the names and a lot of the pronunciations I'm going to be completely lost, but I'll do my best. So far, so good. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, you're doing good.
I'm fine.
Oh, we're fine. We're fine.
Excellent. I love your stuff. Before we go into asking all the questions that I just can't wait to ask you, let's introduce you guys as the band members. We have Louis de Finesse.
Yeah, Louis de Funeste.
Louis de Finesse, and we have Fear Collins, who is not with us here today because he apparently doesn't speak a word of English, right?
Exactly.
And we have Frank Sinistra.
Yeah.
Now, before we go in, if you guys can just explain now, obviously these names are kind of a twist on traditional artist names. Now, I kind of get the Frank Sinistra and the Fear Collins, but the Louis de Finesse, where does that come from?
So we came up with the idea to have aliases based on famous personalities, but with this dark twist in the name. So he came up with Frank Sinistra. And actually, mine is based on a guy called Louis de Funès, which is a very famous French actor from the comedy 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's like this iconic actor from France. And the twist in the name is from, Funès, funeral thing. It's just to introduce this funeral thing in the name. So, yeah, that's it.
Oh, gotcha. That one's a little bit buried a little deeper than some of the other ones.
It's difficult to understand when you're not a French.
Yeah, well, that probably helps too.
Exactly.
So again, you guys produce some amazing dark synth music, and I'm just so excited. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Now, how long have you been doing music? I believe you guys have a pretty wide musical background, right?
Yeah. For myself, I will speak for myself. I make music for 20 years now, approximately. I made quite different styles of music, from metal to drum and bass to old school hip hop music,
What?
electronic music.
Old school hip hop music? Get out of here. That's incredible.
Really.
So you just kind of come from this varied background, and I guess all these influences just kind of get funneled into this powerful dark synth. I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, but
What's important is in all those style of music, I always liked the dark side. I mean, drum and bass was cool because that was the school for big sound. It have to be strong, it have to be powerful. And speaking of engineering, of technical stuffs, I learned everything I know about mixing and mastering from drum and bass. That was the beginning point.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So now that's what allows me to make WeAreMagonia sounds like it is.
Very nice.
We were from the metal scene, and I am still kind of learning how to produce things. And so he's been my mentor for 10 years. And I'm
really?
just yeah, kind of. And I've been into metal since I'm a teenager. I'm a guitar player, metal guitar player. I've just been in that metal scene, and we met there, and we actually became friends in there, and we tried to make some music, and well, we just hang out together. And one day he came up with Terror, our first track. After that, he asked me to join the band because he wanted a guitar player live, and I said okay, because I really liked it. speaking just music and background, I'm just a metal guy. I'm just a metalhead from a teenager metalhead still.
We're all kind of teenager metalheads to a
Yeah.
degree, I guess, but
I've noticed in that scene. I've noticed a lot of metalheads.
yeah, it's kind of like the next evolution of metal, I feel. I really do. And everyone just kind of gravitates to this sound because it's fun and it really just kind of brings you back to those days, you know? And
Yeah, it kind of hits the button where I don't know, this nostalgia button thing, which is not really the case with our band because we don't have those 80s. Well, we sound kind of 80s, but we don't have this Miami, vibe.
right.
Or,
We have influences about the
yeah,
80s
we have
only,
influences,
but
of course.
Yeah.
we don't try to stick to something or recreate exactly or be true to the 80s. We don't really care about it.
Right.
We actually use elements of that to create our own thing, and I think that's why it kind of works for us. We kind of like what we do because it's kind of personal. And I think the one thing you mentioned, which is correct, is that all our musical backgrounds are based on some kind of aggressiveness and fatness, like metal, heavy electronic music stuff, and hip hop are all based on a fatness thing, fat kicks, fat basses, fat, whatever. And I think that's the conjunction of all this. That's how we came up with this sound, actually, I think.
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But that's the interesting thing about synthwave and dark synth, and the great thing about it is you guys are definitely a nostalgic-based band, which is great. But you're right, you're not doing that whole, has to be 80s, has to be palm trees. And that's what I love about this synthwave genre is it can just have a focus on so many different things and aspects of music and be a throwback to a different era, a different sound, and it doesn't have to be that cheesy 80s. Like, you guys are really going in, and you can definitely see your influences on the sleeve of all of your songs that you do. But to me, it just kind of brings me back to a lot of those big death metal bands where you're wearing black t-shirts and going to high school and, just writing satanic symbols on your book covers and stuff like that, and it's just another representation of the nostalgia that you guys grew up with. And that's why I always consider even dark synthwave, but it's just a different flavor. So you guys are definitely not about palm trees or laser grids.
No. No.
We couldn't achieve that feeling, We did try. I think I can remember things where we tried to achieve that, but it wasn't like we didn't like it. We didn't
feel it.
Yeah, we didn't catch this little thing. We didn't catch this little nostalgia button, this Miami palm tree button that we just couldn't nail it. So we actually preferred to do what we liked, which is actually, Baroque music and our real influences actually, and use that to make music, but with elements of classic synthwave with this aggressive feel on top of it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of aggressive music, I'd like to just start off with this first track here. Now, you had mentioned Terror as your first release. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that song came to be?
Yeah, sure. First, I remember with Phil Collins, we used to go to his place and watch some TVT. Yeah, that's right. And
YouTuber guy.
yeah, he got a technique for writing gent riffs, where he sings gent, those kind of thing. And yeah, as we like metal, we told us, why not try to write a bass line with this technique? And that was the starting part of Terror with the drop bass line. Then we added several things to it, but yeah, that was the start.
Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and play that track right now. So once again, this is Terror.
I remember just constant, absolute terror, and I can't explain how intense, how strong, how all-encompassing that terror is. Unless you do this, you're gonna get killed. You're gonna die.
And once again, that was Terror. Yeah, man, just such a badass track. Now, Louis wasn't in this particular track, so obviously it doesn't really have any guitars, but it's more or less just in-your-face badassery.
Yeah.
And you guys added the guitar work a little later. Now, when did Louis get on board?
I think maybe just after we made Electric Guillotine. The point was, first, Louis is a good friend, as you said, and being two in a project is quite difficult. I mean, I know Phil Collins for maybe 15 years now, and we both have strong personalities. And
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
we're not agree on something, and it happened a lot of times since we are all invested in music, and that's what makes us live, basically. Being two was hard because, on a precise point, when somebody wants something and the other wants the opposite,
Right.
it's hard to decide. One have to scream louder than the others, basically. And two wasn't a good number. And being three is a lot easier since there's always two for one decision and one for another decision.
I definitely get what you're saying. So basically what you're trying to say is you guys are very strong-willed and you butt heads a lot. And, when Louis came along, he's more or less that third person to kind of step in and act more as an arbitrator to try to get everything kind of working together. And sometimes
Exactly.
you need that third element to really put the pieces in place.
That's actually how he pitched the band to me. Like, hey, I've got this project, and I actually did listen to the tracks before, and I did like the tracks a lot. But he pitched me the thing like, hey, I need a guitar player, and also I need someone to, to settle all the debates, settle decisions, please, because we're like 50-50 here, and we can't make a step.
Oh, that is hilarious. So we have we have Fear Collins, Frank Sinstra, and Louis De Finesse is the great arbitrator of the band.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guitar player.
And merch cheaper.
And the shipper
do all-
of the merch. There you
Yeah,
go.
I do all the merch.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like you guys really have all the pieces in play, and it definitely does show when you listen to the music because it's well produced. It just feels good, man. It feels good to listen to it. So, good job. You also apparently like the color red.
Yeah. We like. That's not we like only red. We feel like first it fits to the genre, and also it resembles our music. When we listen to a track we just finished, the feeling we get will determine first the name of the track, and then maybe it's personal, but I feel music in color ways. It's kind of a color things, and as we started Terror, then Electric Guillotine, then Anthem for the Apocalypse, we kind of feel this red. Terror with a raid video, then Apocalypse, and then we asked ourselves, should we change color? Should we go more colorful? Should we maybe go in another direction? And all track we produced basically begging for red, so we stayed in that red.
Hey, sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, if it aren't baroque, don't fix it.
Nice. I like where you went with that. But yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And color, especially when you're listening to music and you're playing music, I see color too, and that is definitely a appropriate color for the music. So it's just funny, like I just did some Googling and Bandcamp searching, and like you just go on the Bandcamp and it's just like I felt like my monitor was broken. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm like slapping the side of the monitor. I'm like, is this thing even working right? That's funny.
Only red? Why?
I'm getting one color here. What the hell?
But now with our last piece of merch, there's some green, there's some blue, not only red.
There you go. A little splash every now and then. That's good to have. But you guys are definitely putting out some amazing stuff. And I'm going to lead into my next question here. I have a whole bunch of questions. We also got community questions from the 80s guys, so I'm very excited to read some of them because some of them are pretty hilarious. And I'd love to get some of your answers. Before we go into that, though, let's talk a little bit about your music, your ideology, and everything like that. Now, leading into some of the questions from the community, a lot of the people in general came up with this question, and it's an interesting question, but the music that you make is very obviously dark, satanic, sacrificing goats everywhere and virgins, and as far as your own personal ideology, philosophy, religion, do you feel like it's along the same lines as the music you produce, or is it just more or less an artistic expression? I.e., are you atheist? Are you satanic in real life? Or is this just a universe that you like to play with? Pay homage to the music that you grew up listening to.
I think it's better to answer in an individual way to this question, because we may have different point of view on this subject. So maybe I will let Louis start and then I will answer.
I've been this metal kid guy with long hairs that I still have, and when I was 14, I was in those satanic things because you're 14-year-old, you're going in a Catholic high school, and you want to be the rebel here.
Right. Sure.
So I've been that, and I've always listened to like really I don't know, dark music. I always loved Cradle of Filth or Dimmu Borgir bands, Dark Funeral, all those really occult bands, and really I'll always liked that imagery. Watched a lot of, underworlds when I was a kid, vampire movies, and I just like the aesthetic out of it. I'm just more kind of a dark aesthetic, fan. I don't know,
No, that makes
and
sense.
I don't really. I think I can describe myself more as an atheist. I
Mhm.
don't really believe in, yeah.
Right. No,
No, I just like the aesthetic out of it. It kind of feels to me like very underground and everything. And I think now it's really funny because you see like huge brands like H&M and everything wearing, and I feel like this occult thing is going mainstream right now. Like we've seen like superstars like Jay-Z, wearing metal t-shirts, and even the Kardashians are wearing Slayer t-shirt once. And so, but it's just for the image and everything. And I think maybe using that occult thing, feel it's cool because I like it and I like, playing music with that thing in it. And also I think it's a really cool way to like take revenge on on this pariah thing of when I was a teenager.
right.
Like, hey, I can play electronic music with that imagery, and fuck you with that.
That's a good answer. Yeah,
Yeah, that's our difference.
that's actually a really good answer. So, when you grew up, obviously it was more of a rebellious stance that you had taken with the music, and obviously music is a reflection of your personality and your upbringing and your roots and everything like that. But you haven't really sacrificed any goats recently, I guess.
Not recently, actually.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It would be fun to try one day, but I don't know. No, it's like everything. Just you can
No,
say you
Gods
don't like it when you didn't try it.
That is true. That they do say that. They do say that.
Gods are cute. We don't need to sacrifice them.
They are cute. All right. So, Frank, what's your spin on this particular question?
Yeah, it's kind of the same than Louis. I am also an atheist, and I don't believe in literal Satan nor God. None of us, really. But I like, on both sides, I like the aesthetic of it. I also like the way Satanism transformed, and that's kind of blasphemous, but took all those aesthetics and flipped it and darkened it to make something really strong, because we can't argue against that. Religion have been for some years the main purpose, the main motivation for art. See paintings, see sculptings. They have the best because they have money back in the days, and but it's really like a bag of art, religion. What I don't like about it is the fact that sometimes I feel it goes against people's will. It goes against personality. I largely prefer to live on my own and take my own decision. I have a brain. I can judge what's good or what's bad. And I feel like I don't need somebody who say, no, don't do that. You will go to hell. Yes, do that. You will go to heaven. No, I'm an human being and I can think on my own.
It's true. When you fall into religion, you have all these rules set up and everyone telling you exactly what to say and what to do and how to behave. But you're right. We all have brains. We all can think of our own. And just the fact that there could be a flip side to everything and have this dark underworld, it's a very interesting aesthetic, but also philosophically speaking, it kind of makes sense too, because, there's always the yin to the yang. There's always the light to the dark.
Yeah.
So that really kind of makes sense.
Let's just live our life.
Yeah, live your life and, be your own judge and do your own thing. That's cool. And that's so rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's exactly what rock and roll is all about. So great answer to, honestly, it was kind of a silly question, but
No, it's interesting. I think that question is interesting because it can seem silly, but the world has new bands that really believed in that, and I guess some bands do believe in that still today. But if you look at the black metal scene, in the Norwegian black metal scene in the 90s, those guys literally burned churches for their beliefs. So I guess that's an important question.
Yeah, very good. Good job, 80s guy community.
Yeah.
There's not such a thing as silly questions. All questions are good to ask.
Well, there you go. All right, so I tell you what, let's go ahead and we're going to drop another track here. Let's drop a track from your new album, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we're done playing it. But your newest album is called The Living Will Envy the Dead. Very nice.
That's right.
And it's also red, very red.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and drop the title track from that one here. So this is The Living Will Envy the Dead.
not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
And once again, that was The Living Will Envy the Dead. I gotta say it like dark and ominous.
Of course. Be dramatic.
Yeah. So you have some very interesting names for your tracks. And who comes up with all the names? Do you guys kind of individually come up with them? Or is there a particular method to the madness?
From what I can recall is maybe the three of us, like sometimes we have a name, and I remember we all usually like the title we found.
We first finish a track. Most of the time, it have a work name, something either silly or whatever. And then when the track is finished, we try to feel the atmosphere of it and try to associate it with a scene, like a movie scene or a scene we can live or whatever. Then we try to find a catchy name according to this scene, like the track we just played. We put this Oppenheimer speech on it, which is Oppenheimer is basically the father of the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And another quote from this subject is a quote from Khrushchev. Yeah.
The USSR leader back in the days.
Yeah. We said about nuclear war that living will on this day because it's so awful, it's so can't describe it, but it goes beyond words.
Yeah, it's like I think so we've got this sample from Robert Oppenheimer speech in the middle, speaking about nuclear bomb, and the title is from Khrushchev, who said that if the world came into the nuclear era and if nuclear war came, life will be awful and the living will be envying the dead.
Wow.
From not living. So and felt that was kind of catchy for a track.
Damn.
Actually, this track kind of felt like something, more industrial. It has like that industrial feeling, really special feeling. But that's the track's name. That the living will envy the dead if the nuclear weapon came to fall.
Right. Yeah, that would be a scary thing.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely true. The living will envy the dead because, man, what a mess.
Exactly. But some of the title tracks are definitely just some kind of jokes or some references or some, as long as the title means something or is like funny or is like, has a meaning to us and is cool for the tracks and it kind of feels like the tracks, we go for it.
Nice. So we'll drop one more track here. Speaking of funny, interesting song titles, I feel like the track Synthwave is Dead. Little tongue-in-cheek there, I guess, right? Do you want to talk about that one real quick?
Yeah, we can. Sure. There have been a kind of what we call synth drama.
What? Synth drama? No way.
The synthwave community like dramas. I told you.
They do.
Iron Scarlet posted a kind of article called Synthwave is Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he released it in the same time as our album, so that was a topic. We didn't communicate on this with Iron Scarlet, but that was fun. And he got a point on his article, which some I agree with, some I don't. But the point is, we get bored with artists having the exact same logo with the same color, with the triangle, the grid, and the same lettering. Come on, that's boring. Try to be a little bit original, at least.
Right.
You like 80s music, that's fine, no problem. Okay, you like synthwave, but put yourself in it. Put a little bit, at least, of yourself in it. So that was the point of the title. Okay, that's fine. You liked Kavinsky, you like The Midnight, that's fine, no problem. But don't redo what have been done many times, and just start to be yourself. Maybe try to put just a little bit, flip it. It have to be yours.
Right.
So we got enough of palm trees, as you said, of neons, grid, Ferrari Testarossa, what the fuck, 180, 14, 5, or...
Append an 80s year to your name and you're the next big thing.
And the fun part of it is most of those artists are not even born in the 80s.
I know.
Yeah, that's the point about nostalgia.
It is very
You're nostalgic about a time you didn't even know, actually.
right.
I mean, that's my case. I'm born in 1990, and I'm nostalgic from 1984.
Yep.
And I'm not even.
Yeah,
I was
that's-
not even born because I watched a lot of movie when I was a kid, and that was the movies. The movies were from 1984, but I wasn't there. So
Right. I tell you what, we'll go ahead and drop this track here because it's a great track, very tongue-in-cheek, but in a way, it's not. It really kind of makes sense in the context of a lot of things. So let's go ahead and play it. Once again, this is
Yeah.
Synthwave is Dead.
Synthwave is dead.
And once again, that was Synthwave is Dead. And yeah, it's really interesting that it also has a cool play on words. So, it is definitely fitting with your entire lineup here with the death and destruction. Let's dig into some fun stuff now.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can flip over here to some of the community questions from the 80s guy, because some of these questions are pretty darn hilarious. And I can't wait to hear some of these answers that you can hopefully share with us. So let's start off at the top here. Barry Elmstrand, he wants to know, what were some of your biggest influences? You can definitely hear some of the traces of Tangerine Dream, Goblin, Janhammer, and Dio mixed in throughout your music. Any of those hitting the mark?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but that guy is right. There's some Tangerine Dreams influences and the whole Berlin School of Electronic Music influences, to say. Not that much, because our music is kind of violent and more powerful. Berlin School of Electronic Music is more about dreaming or brain traveling or those kind of things. But yeah, there's some, but there's more metal in it, honestly.
Lots of metal.
Yeah, in fact, we really enjoy all the Baroque era music, as we said earlier, but metal been in some form and influenced by Baroque music too. So that's what makes it together. Baroque music influenced metal influenced us, and that's kind of a cycle.
Yeah, because metal strips out all the major parts of electronic music, like the musical major things, Because if you listen to a lot of classical and Baroque tracks, they're like kind of happy and major, exercises. Metal keeps only the dark parts out of it.
Yeah.
So I think, bands like, well, minus the blast beats, but bands like Shadows of Intent, Flesh God Apocalypse, bands like this, they kind of have this classical vibe, but without the, without the wig. Can I say that?
Yes.
But we talked about wearing wigs on stage.
Yeah,
at some point.
Maybe we will wear some wigs on stage.
Maybe they could be red wigs.
Yeah,
red wigs.
To lose my hairs, maybe I will be forced.
Yeah, it could be fun to have wigs on stage.
So there you go. We have the next new aesthetic, red wigs.
Yeah. And to finish, if you want us to drop some names or people who listen to listen some project, you can check Overwork, which is a Canadian artist. It's electronic music basically, but is really influenced by Baroque music. I think it's a classical trained musician. It's influenced us a lot. You can check, as Luis says, Shadow of Intent, Flesh God Apocalypse for metal, maybe some heavier stuff like Thayarty's Murder. Maybe you have some other to add, Louis?
Jean-Jacques Goldman?
Jean-Jacques Goldman.
Jean-Jacques Goldman is a French artist. It's like
a French artist who have been. It's a pop artist who from the 80s who have been influenced a lot by Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, and they're not all from Baroque era. I know that.
It's actually a French composer from the 80s that he put up some really, really awesome tracks, and he composed a lot, he worked a lot with even Celine Dion. He wrote, some albums for Celine Dion and a lot of artists. He actually is a really good writer too.
Nice.
If you listen to a track from our first album called High School Massacre, you'll hear a lot of Jean-Jacques Goldman influence, because if you listen to his music from the 80s, you've got a lot of those synth arpeggios in it. So that's where some of our music came from.
So go to listen to Jean-Jacques Goldman.
Jean-Jacques Goldman.
All right. Go check it out, guys. All right. So this one's an interesting question. I don't even know where this one came from, but you know what? It was written down. I will see what the answer is. This is interesting. So John Parr wants to know who your favorite bagpiper is out there, out of Stuart Little, Roddy McLeod, and Angus McCall. Do you enjoy a good bagpipe?
I know the mouse, Stuart Little. I only know the mouse, actually. The
no,
movie.
it's not Little. It's Little with D's.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
Little.
So I don't know.
I got it.
I only know Stuart Little from
But
the movie.
the third one sounds like very Scottish, so I think I will the third one.
There you go. It's the third one. Good answer.
That's it.
All right. So Rose wants to know, she has a couple questions here, actually. Do you have any hidden meanings behind your music? Interesting.
There is, but we don't want to talk about it. We kind of put some Easter eggs in her music,
Yeah.
and if we reveal it, it has no sense. So it's up to people to find it.
That's it. You got to do your homework. You gotta interpret it your way and look for the hidden meaning yourself. We're not going to give you all the answers. This isn't Google. Maybe you could try playing your music backwards and see if you get any messages there too.
Yeah, and other
Hidden
little
satanic.
subterfuges. I don't know if the word exists in English.
Yeah, you know, so in the video games, some Easter eggs took 15 years to get found. So maybe it will be the case for us too.
Keep listening, guys. we have a couple more questions here. She also asked, what emotions do you want your music to elicit in listeners? I guess
Strong emotions.
Strong emotions.
Whatever the emotion is, it has to be strong,
Yeah.
and it has to be like some intense thing about.
Strong
has to
and
be
intense.
intense.
There you go.
I
All right.
mean, everyone is different. Everyone has different emotions, and music acts differently for everyone. But as long
Yeah.
as you feel a lot of things, as long as you feel it intensely,
You're doing it right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
sure.
job. All right. This is a perfect question, actually. So Rose also wants to know about the story behind your band name.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah. Once again, that's another Easter egg, but I guess now we can answer it. No?
Okay,
Yeah.
so j'y vais peut-être.
Yeah, go on, Louis.
Okay, so the story behind it is in the 5th or 6th century, I can't remember exactly, in our city of Lyon, where we live, you've got this bishop of the city basically saw aliens. It's actually, he wrote about alien sighting.
That was the first in Europe history, the first writing piece who talk about UFOs.
It's the first, European UFO sighting was in our city from this guy. The story is complicated, but basically the aliens said, or basically the people that were mind controlled by the aliens said that they came from a world called Magonia. And that's where we picked the name.
Nice.
Because it happened in our city, so we're proud of it. And because it's an alien sighting, and I don't know, we're like YouTube bitches. We like, videos about UFOs and everything, and conspiracy things, and video games, Easter eggs.
For fun, of course.
For fun, of course, yeah. Actually, when we do our writing sessions, we actually write music all day, and then we eat in front of the TV. And sometimes we watch, Top Gear because because we're like, I don't know, we like cars.
Of course.
And sometimes we watch I don't know, some strange
Alien
YouTube
theory
videos
or-
about
yeah.
some strange UFO sightings, or because we like it, or ghost sightings or things like that because we like them.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're kind of these occult bitches, so so we liked it, and that story actually happened in our city, so we're proud of it, and that's where the name came from. I mean, I don't know if I can state that, but yeah, whatever. The statue on our first album, Apocalypse.
No,
is-
Okay, censor it.
Okay,
No,
okay,
you
okay.
can.
Now, that
We can back
statue
that.
is actually a statue from a church that has been built on the top of a hill in our city of Lyon. And that church has been built after Black Plague was eradicated. And so they built that church, and that statue is in the church. And it's the same spot where the alien sightings, happened. So we actually took the photo in the same place-ish where the first alien sightings were.
It's all connected.
Everything is connected, and that photo was complicated to take because we took the
get-
photo and we got thrown out by the security, and
Oh my
that's
we
the fun part of it.
We get thrown out by the Jesus security team.
Yeah,
I would say.
The
the Jesus security team was
Jesus police.
Jesus
Team
police
Jesus
threw,
police.
threw us out of the of the church. So that was fun. That's for
Oh
the
my
history
God.
of it. So alien
Yeah.
sighting came from aliens coming from a world called Magonia, and basically that's it.
That's probably one of the most interesting ideas for a band name that I've heard in a long time.
Oh,
Usually
thanks.
it's just like, we like the sound of it.
Yeah, okay.
But no, that's really cool. All right, so we have some more fun ones here. If you could collab with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna search for a few seconds in our head where Louis, you're gonna count to 3 and we answer at the same time to see it's the same artist or not.
Do you want me to count?
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right,
count.
ready? 1, 2, 3.
Back.
Sebastian back. Yeah.
Hey. Oh, that's perfect.
I mean, this is totally genuine. I mean, this has not been prepared.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Really?
definitely doesn't sound prepared. So that makes a lot of sense, actually, because
Yeah.
I can definitely hear a lot of his sound in your music, and you can definitely hear the influences like very clearly.
Of course.
Well, very cool.
He dissected the music like in every possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not in the same league. That guy was absolutely mind-blowing when it came to composing music.
Indeed. Now, here's one from Genero Nebula. They would like to know. This is ridiculous. Do you secretly serve the great, I can't even pronounce this, Cthulhu and the
Cthulhu.
Omnissiah?
I don't like cold waters, so never seen to Cthulhu because I'm a hot guy. I don't like cold, so
Yeah, same here.
I don't know.
Wait, Tulu is in the cold sea or anything?
I don't know. But water is cold usually.
Yep. So no.
Yeah,
Like I don't like waters below 29 degrees Celsius. I'll let you guys do the conversion.
Yeah.
okay. No, really. We don't really dig it, but a lot of people send emails and messages to say they found a Lovecraftian vibe in our music, but that's not really voluntary, I would say.
The cool thing about it too, it's what the people interpret when they listen to the music. So if you put certain elements into it, that's the beautiful thing about music, is because you guys can put your own influences and elements into it, and when people listen back, they can hear their own stuff and they
Yeah,
can
of course.
associate with their own.
That's great. That's the purpose of art, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to interpret it however you want to interpret it. So there you go.
Even if it's not intentional, it can resonate in every people differently. That's cool.
For sure. As far as new music, are you guys currently working on anything new in the process right now?
A few covers,
Yeah, remixes.
remixes. Yeah, sorry.
You guys just recently put out the Eurythmics
Exactly.
remix, right?
Yeah. It's almost finished. We get another remix from the 80s, but maybe that song was more popular in Europe. I don't know really, but we don't want to release it yet. We're always working on new materials for maybe a third album.
Nice.
It's hard when you have a really strong style, a really strong personality in your music to make. The more album you make, the harder it gets, because in some part you don't want to redo what you already done, and in another part you don't want to disappoint the fan you already got and who love the kind of music you make. So it's always hard to make a third album, a fourth album, and so on.
It's kind of a hard balance between writing something you like, something that you like that is not totally different, still in
Right.
your vibe but different, but not exactly the same. But it's kind of a difficult balance to have sometimes.
Yeah, like as artists, you don't want to just keep cranking out the same album over and over
Exactly.
and over and over again.
Exactly.
And although
We're not AC/DC. I mean,
We try not to be AC/DC, but
if I can have the same shows as AC/DC, that would be great.
yeah, no,
But-
definitely.
yeah, sure.
If we can play in stadiums, that would be great. But yeah, it's kind of a hard balance to achieve sometimes, because and the point of the music is not only some fan service, it's also you're doing music for yourself. You must like it before anything else.
Yeah,
Right.
You're the first judge. As I said in the Dark Synth subreddit, artists releasing all their materials and wait for the fans to sort it out. You know, like some artists in our genre and in other genre are releasing a lot of albums, and I don't see the point of releasing maybe 2 or 3 albums a year.
Right.
That's pointless for me, really, because you can't be really picky with it. Even if you're a great artist, a great composer who have a lot of ideas, you can't release 3 albums a year and keeping only the best. That's not possible, I think.
Right. Obviously, when you guys put out an album, you want it to be impressive. You want it to have great fan service. You also want to be happy about it as artists and something that you can stand behind. And that makes a lot of sense. So very good. So when's the next album? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, in 10 years.
In 10 years? Yes. We will wait that long. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about that I haven't touched on?
The American Church of Satan wants us to play for them. I guess we can. I mean,
I will definitely put the word out. Definitely see if we can make that happen.
yeah.
This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to start listening to some more of your stuff when it does come out. Again, take your time and do what you do and put out a great album when it's ready. And in the meantime, if you want to find out more about WeAreMagonia, I don't know why I say it that way. Did I say it good?
No,
No. It's great.
Okay.
that was perfect.
You can just go ahead and check out their Bandcamp, which is wearemagonia.bandcamp.com. I highly encourage you to check out both their albums, their remix, and you guys have a ton of merch available as well. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Just received some zippers, hoodie. We just received some posters. Just received re-edition of our first T-shirt. Actually, we're working on some new merch currently too. So
We sell a lot of merch, basically, and all the money we gain are not for us, are not to pay our rent or anything. We use it to make our live show better. We use it to make new merch. We use it to improve the world project. And I really want to thank them for that.
it's exciting. But yeah, check out their Bandcamp, check out their music, buy a t-shirt, and of course, go listen and talk about the music too. It's not all about just listening, it's sharing that helps too, because they share your music and that enlightens somebody else.
yeah, and that
Yeah,
reminds me
yeah.
of a question that somebody asked in the AMA. If you guys are video games developers and whatever, and you want to work and want to use one of our tracks, just hit us up, and we're okay for our music to be spread
In video games, in movies,
new
in
movies or whatever. We're okay with
shows,
that. As long
whatever.
as we're credited. We have a few people that are asking us that in Europe and around us. We're totally cool with that as long as we're credited, of course.
Well, there you go.
So yeah,
That would be awesome.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so game developers, check out We Are Magonia. And I always got to take a pause when I got to say that name for some reason. But yeah, check them out, contact them. And yeah, you guys will definitely check out their projects, and crediting is important. So, of course, that's a big deal. And once again, this is very exciting. I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot so much, guys, for the interview.
Yeah,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it.